So we're diving into a story that starts with incredible digital wealth, a massive crypto fortune built in the gleaming city of Dubai. But trust me, it ends somewhere completely different, with a horrifying discovery out in the desert, where the new world of crypto crashes headfirst into a brutal, old-world execution. Just try to picture this scene. This is what the authorities found. 2 bodies, half buried in the sand, their faces literally frozen in a final gasp. These were Roman and Anna Novak, a couple known for living this glamorous, super successful life. This was absolutely not how their story was supposed to end. So, the big question is, how? How does a crypto power couple living the high life end up here? That's what we're going to unpack. Who were they really, and what on earth could have happened to lead to this unbelievable fate?
All right, so to understand how they lived, we kind of have to start with how they died. The story really begins at the end, with this grisly discovery that took a simple missing persons case and blew it up into an international murder investigation.
It's October 2025. Their family back in Russia hadn't heard from them in days, so they file a missing persons report. Pretty soon after, the UAE police find their remains out in the desert. The search was over, but the real mystery? Well, that was just getting started. So before this desert grave, Roman and Anna Novak were known. They were a crypto power couple, living a life most of us can only dream about. So let's back up. Who were these people really? If you looked at their social media, you'd see the perfect picture. Private jets, a classic AC Cobra sports car, connections to powerful people. That was the public image. The reality? It was a complete horror show. They were tortured, forced to watch each other die. Their bodies were then dismembered and encased in concrete. It's just horrific. So how do you possibly go from that high-flying lifestyle to such an unspeakable end? Well, it all started with a meeting, one they probably thought was just another day at the office, just another business deal. Let's walk through the timeline of their last few days. On October 2nd, their driver drops them off to meet these so-called investors. They're lured to a rented villa. A short time later, Roman sends out this desperate message for a ton of money. And then, this is where it gets chillingly clever. The kidnappers keep their phones on, moving them around to create this completely false digital trail to throw everybody off their scent. At first, the theories seemed pretty straightforward, right? A kidnapping for money, a ransom plot that just spiraled violently out of control. And honestly, the police had suspects in custody pretty quickly. The 3 men they arrested were all Russian citizens. But look at their backgrounds. We're talking about a former homicide detective and a war veteran. These aren't your typical petty criminals. No, these guys have professional experience, which just makes this whole thing even more disturbing. And the motive seemed clear enough. Torture the Novaks until Roman gives up the keys to his digital fortune. Just a simple, though incredibly brutal, extortion. But as investigators started digging deeper, they realized nothing about this case was simple at all. And this is where the official story really starts to fall apart. See, when the police arrested the suspects, they couldn't find any money trail. Nothing. And even weirder, they found out these guys knew next to nothing about how crypto even works. So why would you go through all this trouble for a treasure you don't even know how to open? This is where the story takes a massive turn. Because it turns out Roman Novak wasn't just some wealthy, innocent victim. He had a past, a dark secret that changes everything about this case. Yeah, long before he was a crypto millionaire living it up in Dubai, Roman Novak was on the other side of the law, back home in Russia. In 2020, he was actually convicted for a pretty large-scale fraud, scamming investors out of about $90,000. It was serious enough that he got a 6-year prison sentence for it.
But he didn't serve all 6 years. He gets out on parole in 2023, moves to Dubai, and immediately jumps right back into the game, launching a new crypto app called Fintopio. And this time, the stakes were way, way higher.
That's $500 million. That is the amount Roman Novak was rumored to have siphoned from investors through his new Fintopio platform. So we've gone from a $90,000 fraud to a potential $500 million scam. And this changes the entire motive, doesn't it? What if this wasn't about ransom at all? What if this was about revenge? A professional, meticulously planned hit ordered by angry investors who didn't want passwords. They wanted payback. This new theory just opens up a whole new can of worms, suggesting that the 3 men in custody, they're just the tip of the iceberg, that there's a shadowy mastermind still out there, pulling all the strings. And this is what investigators are wrestling with right now. I mean, where did that $500 million go?
Who is this alleged mastermind who got the money? And does this explain why the killers tortured the Novaks? Maybe they were furious when they found out the crypto wallets were already empty. The money was already long gone.
Ultimately, that's the one question that hangs over this entire twisted case. Were the Novaks the victims of a clumsy, botched kidnapping for a digital fortune? Or were they the targets of a cold, calculated act of vengeance, an execution designed to send a very loud message? The answer, just like the bodies, might still be buried deep.